Hi everyone, my name is Kevin Mokos. I'm with CAM Economic Partners. Thank you for joining today. Today we're going to go over 701 Russell Avenue, also known as the Lake Forest Mall site in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Just give a brief overview of what we'll be discussing today in the market analysis. We'll start with an executive summary, followed by general site overview, and then we'll really dive into the three major real estate types: office, residential, and retail. And then we'll also discuss the potential benefits of having a mix of these uses on the site, and then we'll wrap it up with just conclusions and general recommendations for the client. So the Lake Forest site we really think of as a site looking for new uses. The site has served as a regional retail destination since it was constructed in the 1970s. Though in the face of stronger competition in the region and perhaps new pressures from the rise of online shopping, the site has struggled to attract customer growth in a full lease list in recent years, which has served as an indicator to rethink the possibilities of this nearly 31-acre site. The owners of the Lake Forest site have commissioned CAM Economic Partners, Inc. for researching, analyzing, and producing this comprehensive market study for the subject site in order to identify the most appropriate uses for the site. The intent of this framework is to serve as a baseline vision to attract the financial partners necessary to make this large-scale project a reality. Through the use of data provided by private and public sources, the study dives into a deep analysis of the potential for retail, office, and residential on site, as well as discusses additional success expected by utilizing a mix of uses. As discussed by Rabiansky, mixed-use developments can add great benefits to owners and users through synergy among uses, an attractive environment, higher rents, and faster absorption. Based on this trend, nationally and locally, and the research performed here, is the overall conclusion the site can support a distinct mixed-use development. So just a general overview of the market analysis. For office, the current state of this submarket could be considered stagnant compared to other submarkets like White Flint or Bethesda. The submarket is expecting a gradual increase of office jobs in the coming 10 years. So if this trend continues, demand for office could exceed 4.95 million square feet by 2025. Given other projects in the market pipeline, 701 Russell Avenue has the potential to absorb up to 600,000 square feet during this time period. For residential, Gaithersburg has seen a steady increase in number of households this decade. According to the SiteWise report, between 2010 and 2015, the number of households increased by 6.21% and are expected to increase by 5.67% by 2020. Given the demographic trends and projections observed and the low vacancy rates, the subject site can expect to absorb about 100 single-family dwellings and about 400 multifamily units by 2025, or roughly 560,000 square feet of space. As for retail, the current retail market has a number of strong competitors. However, once Lake Forest Mall is removed, there opens up a strong opportunity for about 200,000 square feet of retail today, a majority of which being GAFO and food and beverage retail. Flexibility over time. So the local economy within the market area is steadily growing with projected job growth, population, household income, and consumer spending, which is a positive indicator that a mix of these three uses are supportable on the site. Given the expected investment to build and stabilize a project of this scale, compounded by only a steadily increasing economy, it's advisable that the project be built in phases in order to grow with the demand and allow opportunities to reassess the market over the decade. Office in particular is not great demand today. However, it could be a valid opportunity as jobs increase and existing space the market continues to absorb or become obsolete. So based on the conclusions, we've come up with just a schematic delivery recommendation between two phases where we're really introducing mostly retail and residential in the first phase, and a little bit of office just to replace some of the obsolete office space we have on site today or in the submarket. And then phase two, where we're adding significant amount more office as job growth continues through the decade. So now diving into the physical and demographic characteristics of the site. The site is a large parcel, about 31 acres. It has a moderate topography change across the site, particularly from the east part moving towards the west, where the grade drops over 20 feet. Additionally, the site contains a number of stormwater ponds and landscape buffers, which limits visibility into the site. The parcel is located in the very northern corner of the city of Gaithersburg and has the other adjacent town of Montgomery Village. Gaithersburg has a current estimated population of about 65,000 and a population density of 6,195 per square mile, according to Data US. Montgomery Village has a smaller population, but a higher population density, 33,000 people and about 8,300 in density, respectively. Both towns have strong household incomes, with Gaithersburg averaging just under 81,000 a year, and Montgomery Village averaging just under 75,000 a year. The site is near the middle of Montgomery County, where the demographics are very strong, with median household income being nearly 99,000 and the population rising every decade since the mid-1800s. The site is very well positioned in a high traffic area, only about half a mile east of exit 11 on I-270. According to the Maryland Department of Transportation, Route 124 carries a total daily average traffic count of about 46,000 cars east of Route 355, which passes the property. Between 270 and 355, there's a traffic count of just under 74,000, indicating that a large portion of cars going to or from I-270 are not passing subject property. Route 355 carries a north-south traffic count of about 34,400 daily. And here you can see, just between the exits on I-270, what the traffic counts are between them. And so as you can see, this indicates that a large number of commuters are entering and exiting the interstate, one exit south of the property. The site is well connected to surrounding streets, with 6 access points already granted. Tying into the surrounding streets at so many points creates a grading challenge, however. There are also 10 bus stops available to get to and from the property. To the west of the site, there's Lake Forest Transit Center, which is a high-quality bus station that connects to many other points in the region. The site is located about 4 miles from Shady Grove Metro, and buses are available to and from the station. Close proximity of I-270 allows easy and efficient delivery of goods without the need to drive directly past adjacent retail areas. Subject property is on the border between Watkins Mill High School and Gaithersburg High School, as well as South Elementary and Gaithersburg Elementary. The majority of residents on the east side of 270 would be attending either of these 2 high schools, which are ranked poorly compared to the other high schools in Gaithersburg. This is a similar case for the elementary schools on this side of 270. The west side of 270, there are better options for elementary and high school residents, with Quince Orchard High School as the primary school. Similar to the quality of schools, the crime rate in Gaithersburg is worse on this side of 270, which has been steadily increasing over the last decade. Surrounding areas offer a desirable selection of retail amenities, however, it would be valuable to any product type. Within 5 minutes drive, users would be able to get to Costco, Sam's Club, Trader Joe's, or H Mart for grocery shopping. Within a 5 to 10 minute drive, there's also the options, although limited, for dining, such as Buffalo Wild Wings, Dogfish Head Ale House, and Hibachi Restaurant, to name a few. Additionally, 4 minutes from the site, there are 2 hotels. In addition to retail, the site is also across the street from the public library, which is accessible by car, walking, or bus. And is also very close to the Great Seneca Stream Valley Park, which is about 10-minute drive, accessible by car or bus. As far as zoning, according to the planning department, subject property is zone C2, which allows for a variety of uses. Some may be used for office, and most retail uses by right, and could also allow commercial dwellings through special exception if desired. The FAR is limited to 1.5, and no building shall exceed 10 stories. However, there are zoning exceptions for this through legislative action. Now look into the office analysis. So as described in the executive summary, the site's office submarket is relatively stagnant, although not as unhealthy as other regions like Northern Virginia with high vacancy rates. The I-270 corridor carries about 63.9% of Montgomery County's office inventory, according to the 2015 Montgomery County Office Assessment, with a stock of just under 46.7 million square feet. Data reports that the average vacancy rate across the submarket is about 15.1%, with the northern I-270 corridor being the largest outlier with a vacancy of 83.1%. Gaithersburg and Rockville report the strongest vacancy rate, with 11.2% and 12.2% respectively. This could possibly be because of the types of office environments that these towns offer, since a trend in Montgomery County is that mixed-use environments will typically have lower vacancy rates than standalone office park, which are common in Germantown and Clarksburg. According to the Montgomery County Office Assessment, the market has exhibited a positive absorption, 5.1 million square feet between 2002 and 2013, or an average 1.1% a year. Average rent per year for the corridor is $26.96 per square foot, with the subject jurisdiction averaging $20.24 and the most expensive, North Bethesda, commanding $30.13. Rockville, which will be especially competitive for the subject property, commands $28.61. The market boundary is primarily drawn by the I-270 corridor and encompasses Germantown, Gaithersburg, Rockville, North Rockville, Clarksburg, and North Bethesda. Market boundary assumes people are willing to travel about 15 to 25 minutes from the north on I-270, since the next population center north is Germantown and then Clarksburg. To the south, people are likely not willing to travel such a distance because of the greater traffic congestion, and there is a larger stock of office space available to companies, as well as higher rents as you approach Rockville, and particularly North Bethesda. Now, while there is a large inventory of desirable office space in Rockville, the Lake Forest site can still compete based on price and also for companies looking for a brand new space which would be constructed on the site. For future office demand, by 2025, Montgomery County is expected to see the number of jobs increase by over 604,000. Based on the number of jobs reported by datausa.com in 2015, this will be an increase of over 48,000 jobs in the next 10-year period. Also, according to DataUS, about 58.6% of Montgomery County jobs are in industries that typically are office jobs. Companies allot a minimum 175 square feet per employee, then we can assume an additional 4.95 million square feet of office space will be needed by 2025. With 4.58 million square feet currently planned for in the I-270 corridor submarket alone, majority of the future needed 4.95 million will be accounted for, assuming those projects move forward. In addition to accommodating future job growth, there's also an aging office stock that will need to be replaced in the coming decade. According to CoStar, there's about 3.9 million square feet of office along the I-270 corridor that's developed prior to 1985, and of that, 2.1 million square feet was built prior to 1980. Gaithersburg alone says over 1.1 million square feet of office that was built in the 1960s or 1970s. So on the left here, you see two potential competitors we've decided to analyze as part of this report. 735 Watkins Mill Road in Gaithersburg, which is a planned 260,000 square foot office development located right down the street, about a 5-minute drive. This site's within walking distance to a hotel and a limited selection of restaurants, cafe, as well as some retailers. This site will likely command the same rent as the subject site since they have similar locations. However, the access to this site is less desirable, which gives Lake Forest the advantage. The other site is a little bit further away in Rockville, so this is a planned 318,000 square foot office development. This site will likely command a higher rent just because it is in a more desirable location further south on 270. And this site is comparable to an office park setting, although there are some dining and entertainment venues located within a short drive or long walk, as well as a couple of entertainment venues, as noted here, Bullmore Sky Zone Trampoline Park, and a variety of restaurants as well. Based on this analysis and future demand in the county, along with the aging stock of the subject submarket cluster, the office market seems to be limited, and only a careful and modest addition of office should be considered for this site in the immediate future. Much can be learned by studying other submarkets within the county, particularly how the environments differ when comparing vacancy rates. There is a clear correlation between the long-lasting successes of office spaces that are located in mixed-use environments versus single-use office parks. Additionally, given the high average vacancy rate in the county, it's still risky and may not be cost-effective to rely solely on office revenue, particularly in Gaithersburg, where rental rates are more than $6 per square foot, less than Rockville. Office at the Lake Forest site could be successful based on market demand, but would likely experience faster absorption if supplemented by a mix of other uses, and if the amount developed was limited to 600,000 square feet. Office should also be added in phases, with the majority delivering in a later phase. So looking at the residential analysis for Gaithersburg, we've seen a steady increase in population since 2000, with a 2.26% increase in population between 2000 and 2010, and a greater 6.21% between 2010 and 2015. Data also suggests a continued increase in population of 5.79% by 2020. While the number of households decreased by less than 1% between 2000 and 2010, there's a 6.21% increase between 2010 and 2015, with an additional 5.67% increase expected by 2020. As you can see from the chart at the bottom of the screen, the biggest age group within the market is age 25 to 34, and then it steadily drops off We also have a concentration, the ages 0 to 9, which interesting trend, it indicates that Gaithersburg is a popular place for young singles and couples to live and have potentially one child, but they'll eventually move out of the market once a child comes of age, and that could likely be because of the poor schools that we see within the market. And on the left, you can see a couple key household statistics that further support the hypothesis that Gaithersburg is a popular place for younger singles and couples to move to, but then shortly after starting a family, they may move out. Key statistic here being 2.8 persons being the average household size, and then about half of those households having children. Then you can see household size steeply drops off at 3-person, 4-person, 5-person, and onwards. In terms of future demand, as mentioned previously, SiteWise reported increased demand of a little over 5,000 households between 2015 and 2020. Given that the Maryland labor force expects the number of jobs in Montgomery County to increase to 604,000 by 2025, should be an increase of 48,234 jobs between 2015 and 2025. It can be expected that demand for housing will exceed SiteWise's estimates. Since the I-270 corridor's office stock makes up nearly 64% of the county's inventory and has a vacancy rate of 15.1%, there's a moderately high probability that incoming jobs will be situated much closer than the average commute of 36.7 minutes that the market's residents currently endure. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, 2016 vacancy rates for rental units and owner units in Montgomery County were 5% and 0.9% respectively. Just 6 years prior, in 2010, the vacancy rates were 1.5% for owned homes and 5.4% for rentals. So Montgomery County is experiencing positive absorption. Comparables listed out are within close proximity of the subject site and also demonstrate strong vacancy rates, only 1% and 3%. So if there's an increase in population and jobs as anticipated, it can be expected that more housing will be needed. So in conclusion, Lake Forest site will be well positioned to compete with other comparables in the area because it will be brand new as opposed to the average unit age being built in the 1980s, and it is well positioned for commuters next to I-270. Because of the low vacancy rate and the steadily increasing population job market, the current Lake Forest site could support moderately aggressive residential development and has potential for even more residential additions in the coming 10 years. While the data suggests the market can support additional residential now, phased approach is still recommended for the residential component given the uncertainty within the job market in an effort to not oversaturate too quickly. The site's zoning code will also allow for configuration of dwelling units through special exceptions, so the site is legally feasible for residential. As for the retail analysis, the Lake Forest market shows a positive growth in not only households, but overall retail spending and percentage of household spending allocated to retail. According to the SiteWise report for retail spending, between 2015 and 2020, the number of households are expected to increase by 5.36%, and the percentage of income spent on retail per household is also expected to grow by 5.42%, as detailed in the following table. So this page just further details some of the conclusions presented on the first page and further breaks down what can be considered neighborhood goods and services versus general merchandise, apparel, furnishings, and other, and then of course food and beverage. So here you can see the total percent of retail spending as allocated to each of these categories and how that's going to change between 2015 and 2020. The market currently has just over 8 million square feet of retail space total, including the mall. The mall itself carries about 1.22 million square feet of retail inventory, a majority of the space being GAFO and some food and beverage. It's estimated that the market carries about 620,000 square feet of NG&S retailers, such as grocery stores, full-service pharmacies, and warehouse clubs. Excluding the Lake Forest Mall, there is a remaining 4.73 million square feet of GAFO retail and about 1.18 million square feet of food and beverage retailers. According to the Montgomery County Planning Department, there are some retail projects proposed within the Lake Forest market, such as the Montgomery Village Center renovation, which is a planned mixed-use development where the Big Lots currently is. According to the county staff report, this will be adding a number of dwelling units as well as 155,000 square feet of retail. Some of this square footage will be replacement for the current center and some will be new. Plan is approved in late 2017, so it's too soon to tell when construction will begin. Also noted on the county website, Further north of the site, notable projects would include 2 retail developments, one 133,000 and one 191,000 square feet, both about 5 miles away from Germantown. Further south in the market, there is a larger development planned at the Shady Grove Metro Station. However, this has limited retail component and is located far enough away that is unlikely to capture market share from Lake Forest site. An inventory of major competitors in each of the major categories, ranked by their impact to the site's capture rate, was performed and can be referenced on the following pages. Using these resulting capture rates, an estimated supportable square footage for the 2 categories for 2 time periods can be determined. So you can see on the chart here, and these are just additional detail about NG&S retail capture around the site, GAFO, and additionally food and beverage. In conclusion, Lake Forest site can be considered a strong option for retail development, particularly for GAFO and F&B. Currently, the data as outlined would suggest there is enough demand for an additional 200,000 square feet today. Based on the projected population and spending increases, this demand may increase to 220,000 square feet by 2020. While the data states that GAFO retail has limited opportunity in this market, it's important to consider that once the mall is replaced, the market will be removing 1.22 million square feet of primarily GAFO retail. GAFO spending per household is also expected to increase the most among the 3 categories between 2015 and 2020 as outlined above. The market has a number of shopping centers with strong anchors such as Marshalls, Dick's, and Target, so it will be important to curate a mix of retails that will differentiate the site from the market, as well as focus on more specific categories that consumers are increasing spending in, such as electronics and recreation, as you can see on the bar chart on the right. Data also suggests that NG&S will be easily supported on the site. However, it should be cautioned that for the market, it is highly competitive with grocery. A benefit to this site for grocery is that it's located along a commuter route, and if site access is easy enough, it may be able to compete with other grocers. The site also has good potential to support a variety of food and beverage options since there is not a large number of competitors in the immediate vicinity. According to Sabianski, successful mixed-use project will demand a strong local economy, although in some instances may thrive in a more stagnant economy as a catalyst if demographic conditions are just right. In the case of the subject site, the local economy is growing at a conservative pace with increasing job growth, income, and population. This in mind, and given the feasibility of the uses presented in the report, the subject market is appropriate for a mix of uses, provided a phasing strategy is developed to not oversaturate the market. Phasing development will also allow periods of reassessment of the market study and project plan. This is critical in this market since the success of the ultimate build-out depends on the projected growth, which could very well change over time. Uses themselves should also be tested. For example, if residential and office are built in an early phase and absorption for residential far outpaces absorption for office, should be considered to develop more residential in lieu of office in the coming phases. As mentioned before, it's important for mixed-use development that each use can survive on its own, but there's also the added benefit of synergy among the uses. For retail, it's important to foster an appropriate mix of shopping and dining for the lunch and dinner crowds. Office users on site will depend on a variety of lunch and coffee options, both casual and high-end. Residents living on the site will support retail and dining primarily in the evening, assuming they work off-site. Having office and residential close on the site will help create a demand for varying times a day. There should also be consideration for a destination-type entertainment venue, like a premier bowling tenant or boutique acoustic music venue that will differentiate the retail mix. Doing so will also draw customers from a larger market area into the development that may not have done so otherwise. As previously discussed, there's a notable difference in vacancy rates between office located in an office park and office as part of a mixed-use community due to the shift in employee preferences. It's becoming more critical that office be located in a vibrant area surrounded by retail and dining, so office will depend mostly on an adjacent retail component. Benefit of having residential on the site is somewhat secondary since some employees may choose to live there, but more of the benefit will come from residents further supporting the retail that office benefits so much from. Creating synergy for residential creates challenges since being near restaurants may be attractive for one household, but may also be considered obnoxious by another. This is why site planning is critical because multifamily rental units will be attractive to younger singles and couples who will prefer to be closer to the entertainment. So it would be logical to co-locate those units above retail. The single family homes for purchase will be preferred by younger families who are concerned with safety and security so it will make sense to locate further from the retail on quieter blocks. Additional consideration needs to be given to the targeted retail tenants, since larger big box discount stores may not be desirable to have by residential tenants because of the image. Residential will not draw much energy from the office uses unless residents choose to live and work on site. So in summary, we feel that based on our analysis, the site most appropriate for a mix of all three uses. Office in particular may be able to support about 100,000 square feet in a phase 1 development, and then in phase 2 potentially adding about 500,000 square feet if the market conditions are right at that time. Residential household numbers are expected to increase by 5.67% by 2020, and given the demographic trends in the area and low vacancy rates, subject site can expect to absorb 50 single-family dwellings and about 300 multifamily units in phase 1, and at about 2025 could absorb an additional 50 single-family dwellings and 200 multifamily, or in total about 560,000 square feet of space. Retail spending is on the rise, with an expected increase of 10.49% between 2015 and 2020, which creates a great opportunity for retail for this site. So in the first phase, we expect the majority of the square footage to be added to be retail, so that being about 200,000 square feet today, primarily GAFO and F&B retail. And then depending on this absorption in the following phase 2, you could potentially add another 20,000 square feet. So that about wraps up the presentation. I'd be happy to take any comments or questions in the comment section. Thank you.